right, y'all. It's about it's almost 3 p.m. Um, I've got a project that I was trying to undertake the other day, but with the Dymo printer issues, I had to install a virtual machine in order to get my printer running. I finally got. I'm like printing from the virtual machine now, which is kind of nuts. The amount of steps that I have to jump through just because Dymo broke on Tahoe on Macs. So sucks. But here's the project. I'll walk you guys through it real quick. So down here, these are all of our bins. I have them categorized. Like that's where like Loki and Red Skull go, Green Goblin and Hobgoblin and all that type of stuff. But what ends up happening is we get obscure categories like this is female heroes and this is Avengers. And so sometimes I will like say Black Widow. There's a figure. I tend to put her in female heroes, but every once in a while I'll put her in Avengers or in another bucket. So what I'm doing now is I've labeled each of these. So this says super and then has a number. This is for superheroes. So this whole quarter of the table, so this bookshelf, and then this is a section of table. Let me see if I can get it correct. So to there, it's just Batman and Marvel on this. So this is the super table, or for inventory purposes, super T. So what I do is I'm now able to scan a figure and move it and have it in basically multiple locations. So now I have, so let's use that Black Widow reference. She can be in female heroes. She could be in that Avengers bucket and she could be on the table. But the difference now is when I go to pick those, it'll tell me that it's in each of those three locations. Before, what it would do is it would tell me you have 3 Black Widows and it's in Austin Block Shop. So it's just in here somewhere. And so like that wasn't super useful. And so what I'd have to do a lot of times is check the table, check a bin, and then check another bin. Where it starts to get really terrible, like sometimes the fig is just on the table and I'll spend 3 to 5 minutes just looking for it. It's generally pretty fast, but there are these times where I've even had times where I marked the fig and like messaged the person telling them I didn't have it, and then went and found it later. So this is also like a soft audit, because what it's doing is now that everything is changing a location to either a numbered bin or to or to like a spot on the table. Now afterward, if I search all of my minifigs when I'm completely done, and see which ones say Austin Block Shop, I'll know which ones weren't in inventory. Or didn't get accounted for. So it'll basically show me a bunch of outliers and stuff. And so what I'm doing as I go through and scan these too is auditing the quantities on everything. It doesn't happen a lot of the time that I either have something that's not listed or have too many listed, but it has happened. Like I think I had 2 in this whole Marvel section. So this whole section of Marvel is done. They're all facing forward. They're like not organized in a very coherent way, other than they're like like Iron Man, for example. I scanned all these Iron Man, counted them, and then when I found the one on the table, I would put it up in a straight row so that I know that I've handled it and it's complete. All these ones that are turned sideways are ones that aren't done. So I need to update their location to be on the table. So that'll go. It's probably taking me about 2 hours to get started and run through this. It's going faster, but honestly, the biggest impediment right now to moving very fast is the scanner that I use. Battery keeps dying. I'm not fully charging it. And so like, that's why I took a minute to make this video. I was like, let's give it some more time to charge. This is one of those bookkeeping tasks that I don't want to do, but it's so necessary and it speeds everything up. I love picking parts because the parts bin, it tells me exactly where it should be, and it's simple, right? I hate picking minifigs because it leads to unknown issues. It could be fast off the table. There's just a ton of different stuff, right? This will also, I think I can set a priority, so it'll tell me to pick from the bins if I have one on the table. That way, for restocking purposes, I'm not taking the fig off the table because I don't want to have to restock. Like when I'm picking between like say a Black Widow, it's the same exact fig. One's on the table, one's in the bin. I always want to take the one from the bin because it's already bagged and tagged and ready to ship. On top of that, if I take the Black Widow off the table, later when I go to restock, I have to take the Black Widow out of the bag, put the label onto the stand, and then put it back out, right? So you create a lot more work for yourself if you don't do this the right way. So there's that aspect of it. That's like super helpful. There's one other thing I can't remember right off the top of my head. There's one other like ultra crazy benefit to this, and I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, I'll be able to set the pick path as well. So like I'll start on superheroes or start at Ninjago, go to CMF, come over to Marvel and like finish at Star Wars so that I can just walk back really easy. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, just the auditing part of it needed to happen. I don't really often have. I had a lot of issues in the beginning when I started doing this. Like my failure rate on accuracy was pretty low. Like so much so that I reached out to Bricker because I thought there might be an issue. I'm not really sure what happened. Yeah, I basically had a transaction that I did in person with somebody, and all of those items didn't get removed from inventory. I'm not sure why or how. I scanned them out normally. And so for the next couple of weeks, I was selling those items as parts of lots, and you would have to message people and be like, hey, I don't have this. It was Ninjago Skybound figs. And still to this day, when somebody buys a Skybound fig, I'm like, oh, I hope I have it. Yeah, so we got labels printed. So like all these super labels that are here. But like I said, it's still categorized too. So that's for restocking purposes, right? So like if I look up here and I'm like, all right, what X-Men do I have? I don't have a Cyclops. Now I can just peek in here and snag Cyclops. Here's the difference. I have to scan it onto the table, right? So like if I'm restocking, I do have to have my computer and I do have to change its location to the table. It's not the end of the world, but it's pointless if we don't adhere to the structure, right? So yeah, lots to be done. Like I said, it was 2 hours and I only finished like an eighth of the table. So this is going to be I think it's going to be a really long project. I have someone coming tomorrow to help out, but I don't think that they can help with this. So I might have to cancel them and then just go heads down in this and continue to press. Because I'd like to finish. I mean, by tomorrow, I'd like to finish this whole half. So it's Marvel, Batman, and Star Wars is pretty gnarly. But I'm not sure what I'll be able to do. It's just yeah. It's weird. Like when you have like dense categories like Avengers, Iron Man, Spider-Man, that one went slow. Some of these other ones like X-Men had 2 figures in it. It went really quick. But yeah, we'll check in a bit. I'll update in the morning and see where we're at. Yo, good morning, y'all. It's 8:30 this morning. It's just gonna be a quick video. I want to talk a little bit about our orders and then the amount of progress I was able to make yesterday. Orders, what is going on? Let's see, 13 orders for a total of $363. Crazy. It's the most orders we've ever had in a day outside of December, which is nuts. Like, yeah, fantastic. Like stuff like this just gives me an insane amount of hope that, you know, we can continue to live and grow this thing, right? Yeah, I can't even believe it. Those orders take quite a while to pack. I think it's like, you know, I've really gotten the process down very quick, but there's just still odds and ends. There's things that I would like to speed up. It's silly stuff like individually bagging parts, like certain ones that are over a certain price threshold, I individually bag, and it just adds a little bit more time. It's not anything I can do before it's purchased, right? Because I don't want to be bagging incorrect quantities of things. It's just kind of something that needs to happen. I do wish there was an alternative to a lot of these bags. It's a weird thing, but it's the the Ziploc seal on it or whatever is just so tight, and that's the thing that kind of takes up the most time in that flow right now. It's just opening those bags. I wish I could buy those bags pre-opened, but at this point, if they sold them, it would probably be a lot more than what I'm paying. Silly thing, but yeah, that would definitely speed things up. But yeah, I think I might time myself for this and see how long it takes, because I still need to pick those orders. Normally I have it all picked before I turn on the camera, but I was a little excited. I'll walk through what we've sold. I think another $100 Bionicle went out, so that accounts for a good amount of it. The order values appear to be a little bit lower lately, but that makes more sense because we're adding tons of parts, and that represents a higher count of the total inventory that we have on hand. So with those lower value parts being added, the order value should continue to drop a bit, especially from when we only had sets listed at one point. I remember every order felt like it was $300. So that's that. Yesterday's progress on the table. Let's take a look. So I got all of superheroes done. Everything from, let's see, this seam, make it a little bit more clear. All of that stuff was moved and added to the location. So this is on the location Super T, which stands for Superheroes Table. And so now when I sell one of these things, it's going to tell me Super T and it'll be up here. Or it'll tell me the actual bucket that it's in. So I also went and I had train parts I was storing down here. So I moved all those over. That's a faster move, because those were actually inventory buckets inside of Brooker. And so I was just able to move the contents of those to the associated bucket. Like you can move, or you can like select all and then move them very quickly. So that means today is Star. I might have to take off a couple of rows up top in order to have space to put things back in an area that shows that they're done. The way this works is I get a row and then I just fill it out as I complete ones, and then come back into all the one-offs. So yeah, could be interesting. I'll see what happens. What's it called? The scanner died like 2 times on me yesterday. It's just a lot of work to do. I've got to figure out how to. The scanner is sitting off a USB. It's a USB-C to USB dongle, and it's kind of awkward. I don't plan on using it on my computer all the time. I would like to just have a Bluetooth one, but I think I need to figure out if they actually have one. The reason I need that is so that in the future, when I'm moving things from Limbo, which is they've been added to the inventory, but they haven't gone in their specific bucket. The way that works is I walk the Limbo bucket over there when I'm ready to add figures back, and I scan the drawer after I put it in it. So it's super easy. You just move one, scan, it's fast. But yeah, I don't know. I can't be tethered to this location, and in this location, I have my USB station and whatnot. And so it's basically a USB hub that has a regular USB port in it that I can put the dongle in, not the dongle, but the receiver. And so I got to figure out a solution for that. But yeah, I'm hoping that the flow isn't too bad and I don't leave the Limbo filling up, because I don't want to go and do that second part of the process. I hope it's really quick, but I'm not certain. I've kind of tried a little bit of it, but I don't think we sold anything that's from that superhero section. Actually, no. I know that I sold an Iron Man, but I already picked it because it showed me that it was sold when I was doing the table yesterday, which was an odd thing. It says 1 reserved for order. And I was like, what? And then ended up figuring out it's because it was purchased. Yeah. Table. That's going to be the whole thing. I mean, this is going to be a stretch goal for me would be getting Star Wars done, and then also CMF. The CMF side is probably the worst because there's just, I don't know. The Ninjago side's pretty bad too, because there's a couple of bucket of just catch-all stuff. So one other thing, walk over here. We have, I bought all these buckets from Uline. It's just more of the containers that go here. Definitely ordered more than I needed, but Uline shipping is so expensive that when I know that I'm going to need something, I order a lot of it because I just don't want to pay for it again. But I need to break up, where is it? This bucket into a bunch of different categories. And so I'll bust out the label maker, make a bunch of labels for them, and then also get those categories broken up. So that should help picking a lot. Take out the uncertainty, because as of right now, the worst part of picking is just the uncertainty. I'm also doing an audit as I go, and so it'll also reduce the uncertainty. Uncertainty meaning that I sell something and then I just can't find it. Like, it doesn't happen often, but it doesn't take a lot of times for it to feel terrible. When you do that, it's like you have to then message the person, be like, "Hey, I don't have this thing." Yeah, it's just a pain. So I'm glad that that's going to happen. It's been over a full year since I've done the deep audit onto the table. And so it needs to happen. I'm also going through and cleaning things up. There's a lot of dog and cat and animal part. That sounds gross. Dog and cat, like minifigs, that I need to move into the wall storage. It's just easier that way. So I'll get that going. And it's just basically cleaning up and tightening it up so that everything on that table is exactly where it needs to be in the backlog and in the system. And there's no longer items that are minifigure or parts that are listed as Austin Block Shop, because that was my catch-all before I was doing an actually itemized inventory system. And yeah, it's just not helpful. Sets will continue to be an Austin Block Shop. We're not that big yet. Now in the future, if I do end up boxing everything and putting it on shelves, then we'll go to a system where we then move those items into onto their associated shelf, and then go from there. So yeah, it's probably the most this has felt like work in a long time. Today, kind of like yesterday, I was definitely just like, I just want to get through this. Yeah, I don't get that feeling very much doing this stuff, but it's just super monotonous, and you have to be dialed in, because like if you're placing things in the wrong spot or you avoid it or you miss something, then when you go back the next time, what's going to happen if I make a mistake right now while I'm doing this table is the fig will still show as Austin Block Shop. I'll get a report at the end that shows me all the figures that are still in Austin Block Shop. I'll go and I'll look to audit to see if I can find the total count or the figures that are listed as Austin Block Shop but didn't show up. What that means is that it's gone. Like any of those figs that are Austin Block Shop but not actually here and I can't find are either one, they could be stolen, or two, during a transaction I misscanned it out, or three, I entered it wrong incorrectly when I was adding it and entered a quantity that was too high. There have been a ton. Let's see, there's probably like 15 figures that were on the other side of that were not represented there. So that means, like there was no entry for them. That just happens over time. That would be one getting deleted out or not being able to be found. And then, yeah, so we have a pile of things that are nothing crazy. Just Iron Man was really messed up. The Iron Man, but I had to go back a little while ago, and so I must have messed something up. I had to go back and do a reevaluation because I had somebody order a bunch of Iron Man figs, and there were heel cracks and arm cracks like galore, and we didn't catch them. And I'm not sure if it's just that they've been sitting so long or kind of like what had gone on with them. We might not have done it, might not have caught it early. But yeah, that definitely changed our process. So what I did is went back, re-audited a whole bunch of stuff, ended up parting out a ton of them because they were incomplete after all that. I ended up refunding, I would say, over 50% of that order. Nothing that the buyer did wrong, right? Like, that's on us. We need to make sure that we're sending them good stuff. I had one today. Could not believe that I missed. It was a Jar Jar Binks, right? And I was like, they told me it was cracked. And I was like, I know for a fact that Jar Jar's not cracked. Like, I just sent it out like 2 days ago, right? His face had a huge crack in it. It was his face. I didn't even look at it. I was like looking at. This happens a bit. I'm looking at torsos. I'm looking at heel cracks, and I'm looking at arm cracks. Right. I didn't think to look for a molded face crack, and like when the guy sent the picture, I was like, "That's weird." He didn't send the torso, and I looked, and it's just the whole side of its face is cracked open. Yeah. So that guy's getting a refund. Yeah, it happens. It's just part of the thing. Like, just it's best thing you can do is refund it and move on. Like, it's the nature of the beast. They get some free parts, but they also have to go source the other stuff, right? And so, it's on us. Like, we have to do a better job to make sure that those things aren't happening. But with the total count and quantity of items that you're dealing with, even with a 1% error rate, which I think we're above right now, but like a 1 to 2% error rate feels really bad. That's one. Yeah. So just try and do what you can. Like, there's no other magic to it. Make sure your processes are good, and just handle it that way. Because yeah, it's not worth getting hung up on. I know when I first started doing this, when I would get one of those messages, I would just be devastated because we were getting so few orders, right? And so, like, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't realize that how much a part of it is, like how much customer service is for this, and how much time I spend doing it, and then also how much, you know, how if you're not doing the work beforehand, like of checking everything thoroughly, how much time it can really eat up. So yeah, that's it. I think we're just gonna do super table today, or star table. Sorry, the super T and star T right next to each other. I'll work with the Bricker team in order to see if I can get an adjustment for the pick path, so that when I'm at the super table, after that it goes into the bins. So like the way that I want it to work is, I like say I sold figs from like tons of figs, right? I want it to bring me over to Ninjago table, and then Ninjago bins, then CMF table, CMF bins, then Marvel table, Marvel bins, Star Wars table, Star Wars bin. The reason I want to do that is I just want to go top to bottom, right? I don't want to be up and down, and then I want to move over to the next one, and then I also want to end as close to this area as possible, so that when I'm done with it, I'm just walking right over it, right? Super easy. It's just like what's the most optimal flow for this type of situation. So, yeah, awesome. It's really, God, it's so boring to do this, but like when it's done, it'll be helpful. I hope that I'm not just moving the time. I hope that it's going to be helpful, and it's going to be faster. And like the combination of those two things added up over a course of a year are just going to be like awesome, right? And it's a system that can expand. That's another massive portion of it. Say we move away from doing the table at all. This whole system, I have a plan for just expanding it out. And then continuing to go. The then prefix of star or whatever, CMF or whatever, doesn't really matter. Like, you can move and change those things or just leave them as they are. But so yeah, that basically made it so that there's we can just move on into another system if we don't want to do tables anymore. Well, cool. All right, we'll check in soon. All right, that was a perfect example of why the table situation needs to be updated. I had 3 city minifigs come in. I thought I had on one side of the table, there's actually 4 different spots that fig could have categorized into, but it was in a 5th location. It took me almost 20 minutes to find those 3 figures. So it's stuff like that can just be devastating. I had gotten to the point where I was like, I'm just going to tell her that we don't have it. And then ended up finding it in a 5th location and couldn't believe it. Pretty frustrating. The icing on the cake was the very last item in the whole list was a figure to be picked from the newly updated section, and it took literally 1 second. So that felt good. So it's just one of those things where it started off, the first 3 figs were the first 3 items that I needed to pick, and they took forever. And the last one was from the new section, and it was just so much easier. So just heading in the right direction. Frustrating. When time is so important to like a one-man operation like this, then like you have to make sure that you're using your time wisely and not it's just a speed bump, right? Like you're moving as fast as you can throughout your whole day and everything's flowing really well, and then boom, you're dumping a bin out on the floor for the second time, trying to find one specific figure, and that can just be it just kills your momentum, right? And as somebody who's very momentum based, like it's just painful. So head in the right direction. We'll get a turnaround. Let's take a look at the stuff that we did sell. Another big Ninjago, or not Ninjago, Bionicle. Pretty awesome, right? So cool. We got an awesome lot of old Bionicle stuff. And then here's that guy. These two were the killers. This one I had already like kind of set aside, but this was the bookend, and man, it took forever to find those two. And then just some Ninjago stuff, and then what's that? That's a Lego Movie. Rebels parts in here, Star Wars, not Star Wars, Iron Man boosters, lots of good capes. Yeah, and then just a smattering of stuff. Accessories have been selling really well lately. So that makes me happy because I spend a lot of time getting this. This is actually where all the weapons are stored. The top stuff is like mechanical weapons. Or sorry, top is medieval weapons and the bottom is mechanical weapons. So like top is swords and axes and bows, and the bottom is guns, blasters, lightsabers, binoculars, all that stuff. So yeah, pretty awesome. The reason I had it set up like that was because originally for hybrid retail, I was going to have on this side like a menu of things that you can purchase, and we never got there. I wanted to have all that stuff right there, so I didn't have to turn around. But we never got there, and I don't think we're going to get there, especially if things continue this way. So pretty awesome. Yeah. I don't think there's anything else. I'll give a little status update here shortly on the table, and then yeah, man, just so crazy how I haven't had like a troublesome pick like that in a while, and maybe it was just the boost I needed today before I started doing another 8 hours of labeling and scanning. So yeah, we'll get it done. All right, so that took quite a while. It's 10:01. So picking and packing that took quite a bit. I think, yeah, just crazy. It went pretty solid. Like there wasn't any big issues. And then the things that normally take a long time are random box items. Like you can see here, look at there's only 2 different types, right? That's fantastic. That's what we would like to do. Like we'll kind of like over package things if it means uniformity, because one, it means less materials on hand, and two, like less grabbing for different things. And then overpacking is better than underpacking, right? And same with the Bionicle set inside that massive box, right? It's like probably like I don't know, $1.50 for the box or whatever, and a half of it's the void. That's filled with packing fill. So yeah, just while that stuff really adds up, I'm not, yeah. The packing stuff for the small orders is just like something that I don't know if I'm gonna need to wake up earlier to get done, because now that it's already 10, like it just kind of feels like a lot of my most productive time is in the morning. I'm either going to pack orders later in the day, or I think that's probably what I should do. I think I'm gonna move to packing orders at the end of the day. Just because like in the morning I'm like ready to go. And so I don't want to lose that momentum. I don't want to lose that time. And then just not like, then feel kind of blah the whole rest of the day. So I think that's the plan. Yeah, it's just like they're coming fast, and there's so many of them lately, which is amazing, but it's just time consuming. I don't think it's anything I've ever factored in. I figured I don't know that I thought we'd ever get to this quantity. I don't know if it's something that's temporary, or I imagine it's a knock-on result of just listing so many parts. And I think there's a direct correlation between part count and order count. And so, yeah, we'll just keep it rolling. Yeah, we'll check in and I'll give you an update on the tables. All right, I just finished up Star Wars. It is 1:30. It took quite a while. Um, this is kind of the aftermath. These are things that were just not in inventory. So this Leia, I remember someone purchased this and then or wanted to purchase it, so I set it aside, but then I guess I must have put it right back on the table. Yeah, pretty wild. There's some good stuff in here. Bo-Katan. There's a Sabine Wren polybag. That's not real Lego, so that doesn't really go in there. Look at this Bad Batch dude was in there. Not in inventory. A really good Dengar. Yeah, I mean, pretty nuts. There's also stuff that worked the other way where there's just quantities missing of stuff. It wasn't anything eye-opening. I think the worst thing was a Sith guy. It was let me see if I can remember his name. It's like First Brother or something. It was pretty expensive, so that was kind of disappointing. It was this dude. Let me see. Did I put him out? I might have put him out so that no, I absolutely can't see him. Anyway, it was an expensive fig. So it's disappointing that we don't actually have two of them in inventory. No, it looks like we have none. I'm gonna have to check after the video. But it feels good to have all of that lined up and like and clean, right? So like it's essentially everything should be 1-to-1 on that side of the table now. Like everything should be perfect, right? It should be an accurate representation of the inventory that we have and then easy to pick. So that's what we're going for. I'm going to add these items back to inventory, and then it's on to CMF/Ninjago. So yeah, see how it goes. All right, y'all. It is Saturday. I wanted to give a quick update on the week. I wanted to do this at the end of last week, but I forgot. I'll try and do it on Saturdays when I can or Sundays. It might distort things a little bit. I'm not sure if we'll have a full 7 days. I don't believe we will. But I just want to do a monthly update. So far for this month, it looks like we've sold almost $2,400 worth of stuff. So today's Saturday, March 7th. So it's pretty good. It's almost $50 an order at $340 a day. So far so good. I'm hoping that it holds up. I'm not sure that it will, but we're going to be doing stuff behind the scenes to try and sell stuff locally as well. So that always gets added. But yeah, the garage is an absolute wreck. The minifigure audit has been going slowly. I got so burnt out on Friday. I was probably like 6 hours in and was just like, I'm done with this for a bit. And so I haven't touched much. Yeah, there's just fragments of things, of projects, of ideas, of things that need to be completed. But those are kind of on pause. I'm not intaking anything until the table's done because of the experience I had on Friday, just being such an absolute nightmare for the first like 20 minutes of picking. So I want to get this resolved. I have the impulse sealer that needs to get fixed, which shouldn't be a super big deal. And then I got to remind myself probably to go back to parts and minifigs and focus on that. I always find myself finding bags of accessories that I'm like interested in doing. There's like a full tub plus of just minifig helmets. With what we've been selling online being odds and ends, I think that the number one takeaway is just new lots, like trying to get different types of new lots listed outside of minifigs, because it's just a smattering of just odds and ends when I see a new order come through. So the more different stuff that we can get listed online, the more consistent orders we'll get and the more revenue we'll bring in. So that's definitely a massive learning. Man, it's just going so much better than I had anticipated. I feel like I can relax for the first time in a long time. It felt a bit like a fist fight every day to get the most out of every day in order to make sure that we're, living and being okay. But today and just this week, I think this week was the first time in a long time where I'm like, okay, like if we don't do in-person retail / a garage sale, then we can still be okay. We still have really good stuff. And so that's been a tremendous relief. But I still feel like I need to be sourcing constantly and getting those lines cast in order to reel in some good stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not as worried about it right now because we have such a big backlog of cool stuff that, all it takes is one good thing to sell a Cloud City and you made your week. Sell a box one, you made your month, like, yeah, that type of stuff feels really good. So yeah, all in all, fantastic week. We had done like around $500 a day, but that was like post UCS sets. Like we had gotten a massive influx of new inbox plus used UCS sets last year. We probably spent about $8,000 at least on those sets. And so like we would get these days or fluctuations in the month where somebody would come and buy one of those and then like, it'd make up a huge portion of what you've done. Now what we've replaced that with, so we'd probably get like 2 of those a week, right? And so we'd end up with an extra $1,000 to $2,000. And so like when we do that, we'd hit around 10,000 a month. But now what we've done is we've raised our floor by adding parts. So we're not as reliant on those massive fluctuations. And so it's just been so much more consistent. Orders just rolling in. They're not always hit bad or like big ones. I mean, what does it say? It says it's $48, almost $50 on average. That's fantastic. And then the total number of lots, it says $10 a lot. Yeah, it's just that's fantastic. So like 4.8 to 5 items per lot. That means you're not spending you're not picking a lot of different things. So we don't spend a lot of time picking, which is great if we're doing it correctly. So big thing to remember. Yeah, let's try and keep going. I'll check in on Monday. We'll set out some things that we're planning to do. Definitely, it's going to be making sure that we finish off the table. I've got everything labeled. Everything's going well. There's a little bit of confusion on the CMF side because I have two CMF groups per bucket. So need to get that finished. Yeah, we'll check in on Monday. Good afternoon, y'all. It's noon on Sunday. It's been kind of a rough start, down and out. Slept most of the morning, not feeling great, but I wanted to come out here, get a head start on picking some orders. We sold about $451 across what looks to be like 11 to 12 orders, which is still pretty awesome. Their orders are rolling in so consistently. I'm sure I've said it 1,000 times. The best part today was a majority of the figures didn't fall into the category that had just been updated, and so there was a big chunk of Ninjago and stuff that I hadn't gotten to in City that I haven't yet updated the bins for the bucketing and like quick picking. But the section I did do was incredibly fast, and that felt well worth it. The only issue I ran into is that the pick order is messed up. It could have been the way I designed it or whatnot. But basically what happens is when a figure comes in that I have both on the table and in a bucket or a container below, it's asking me to pick the one from the table first, which is not the way that we want it. If we pick the one from the table, then our table will get destocked, and then we'll have to spend time going into the bins, pulling out the bin, pulling out the fig, applying the label, and putting the fig out for no reason. So I've got a request to Robert from Bricker to see if he can help me with my pick path for just the young. I have one section. So I'm a consolidated store right now, which means all my like parts are together for exact parts, right? So like minifigure, whatever, a very specific head, or they're all in exactly the same container. But for the table, it's not like that. So a table can be in multiple locations, and so on the table they can be in the on the table or in the bins below. So so it was so much nicer picking from there. So I've got the request in to Robert to see if he can help me with that. I know some shenanigans behind the scenes. He can add special characters that don't get registered and things like that. So that Bricker team is super helpful, man. Like, yeah, I probably over the course of during my setup time with them, I must have had like 200 to 300 back and forth emails that they were just really went the extra mile to get me set up. So shout out to them. If you're not using Bricker, use it, because you can go from nothing to this in 2 years, right? Like it's pretty crazy. Yeah, awesome. So I got that out. Let's take a look at what we sold for that $450. There's a set that I sold. I'll walk over and show it in a second if I don't forget. Figs, superhero figs. I think I'm noticing superhero figs selling more lately, and it might just be because I updated the pick section, so like it's super easy to pick over there. As always, Ninjago. We had some Toy Story stuff coming out. I accidentally sold the Zurg figure. I didn't mean to list it because I don't have his collar cape and I don't have his legs, and so I have to remove that. But this guy sold him back to back, so it must be on the rise. And then this was pretty funny. This was the plug for Ham from Toy Story, and it's like $15. It doesn't look like anything special. I'm not sure I would have known about it unless Noah from Brick Shed had told me that, hey, be on the lookout. That's the part that's really valuable from that fig. And then we have one fig that, or one set that we sold right here. Hulkbuster. It's not the UCS Hulkbuster, even though it has a plate. Confusing, weird, but really, really, really cool model. And then there is an Iron Man in there hidden, so that's pretty cool. So I'll package that up. I don't think I'm going to do that today. I'll save that for the morning. Yeah, that's it for today. I'm just going to rest and try and feel better and get back at it tomorrow. Peace.